Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. Let's begin. She didn't notice the bag at first. She walked right past it, probably too busy texting him. Keys hit the counter, shoes kicked off, perfume trailing behind her that smelled nothing like the ones I used to buy. She was humming something, some upbeat pop song that I now hate without even knowing the lyrics. Then she turned around, paused, and stared. You packed my things? I didn't even look up from the sink. I was rinsing the mug she used that morning. Lipstick still on the rim. It was always the same mug, the one I got her on our first trip to Oregon. It said, "Stay wild, moonchild." I hated how much I still cared about it. You said you needed space, I replied. She blinked like I was supposed to take it back, like the suitcase was a prank. I didn't mean that kind of space, she said, voice already sharpening. I meant emotional space, not whatever this is. But I'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, in silence, in traffic, in my head, while she laughed at someone else's texts. I knew she'd try to spin it, make it about my overreactions, my neediness, my lack of ambition. So I said nothing. She walked over to the bag, unzipped it slowly, as if expecting it to be filled with something else. A letter, a plea, a ring, but no, just clothes, makeup, her charger, and the scarf she once said she'd never leave behind. You're serious? That's when I looked at her. I'm tired, Marin, I said. Tired of proving I'm worth staying for. She folded her arms. So, this is it? After everything? I could have listed the everything. The nights she didn't come home. The passwords she kept changing. The moments I watched her smile at a screen instead of at me. But I didn't. Instead, I dried my hands, took a deep breath, and said, "You already left. This just saves you the trip." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. For once, she was speechless. And for the first time in months, I wasn't the one crying. She didn't leave right away. She stood there, frozen, like her body hadn't caught up to her ego. The suitcase sat beside her like a stubborn truth she didn't want to face. I leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, waiting. Not for her to argue. I'd already heard every version of her anger. I was waiting for the mask to fall. "You're throwing away 10 years because I needed space?" she asked, her voice trembling in that fake shocked way people use when they've been caught. "No," I said. "I'm throwing away 10 years because you already did. I'm just taking out the trash you left behind." That one landed. Her jaw clenched. She blinked fast. Once, twice, then suddenly she stormed upstairs. I thought she was going to slam the door, but instead, she went straight for her closet. I heard hangers crashing, drawers slamming, and something, maybe her diffuser, shattering on the floor. I stayed in the kitchen and listened to the sound of her pretending she still had control. 10 minutes later, she came back down with a second bag. Bigger, messier, unzipped. Her face was red, but not from crying, from humiliation. That's what this was about. Not heartbreak, not regret. She was embarrassed that I had done the leaving before she could, that I'd refused to grovel. "You'll regret this," she muttered, grabbing her purse. I shrugged. Maybe. But at least I won't wonder who you're texting every night." She stopped at the door, turned. "There's nothing going on with anyone else?" I gave her a long, tired look. That sentence had too many words for it to be true, and with that she left. No hug, no pause, not even a backward glance, just the sound of her car starting in the driveway. The same car I co-signed because her credit was wrecked when we met. Fitting. But what she didn't know was that I'd already seen everything I needed. The late-night messages, the hotel reservation under her maiden name, the Lyft receipts from nights she said she was working late. I didn't confront her then. I didn't need to. Because the moment she realized I wouldn't fight for her, that's when her world started cracking. I sat back on the couch, my couch now, and finally breathed. But the real storm, it hadn't even started yet. The next 2 days were quiet, unnaturally quiet, like the whole house was holding its breath. I half expected her to come back, dramatic and flustered, throwing accusations like confetti, demanding to know how I dared let her leave without begging. But she didn't come back. Instead, the silence stretched. No texts, no missed calls, no "I forgot my toothbrush" excuse to slither back in. That should have been a relief, but it made everything worse. Because silence like that, it's not absence, it's calculation. She was waiting for me to crack first, waiting for me to reach out, to say I was sorry for overreacting, to play the role I always played, soft, forgiving, scared to be alone. But I didn't. Instead, I poured myself into the things I used to neglect. I cleaned out the fridge, I replaced the shower curtain she never liked. I started sleeping in the middle of the bed, stretching out like I had something to prove. And still, the silence held. But then, late one night, I checked the shared Google Calendar we hadn't touched in months. That's when I saw it. Meeting, 7:30 p.m., Dorsey Inn, M. My stomach turned. She was still logged in. She never removed access. Part of her probably assumed I'd never look, but I did. I clicked on the event, and under notes it said, "Don't forget, bring what he likes." Use the black dress, no name, no details, just enough to ruin me. I stared at it for what felt like hours. I wasn't even angry. Not at first, just hollow. I had suspected. But now I knew, and the knowing made everything worse. She wasn't just seeing someone else. She was coordinating it, picking outfits, planning it out like a business meeting. She was with someone who didn't have to beg for her attention. Someone who got the version of her I used to dream would come back. And somehow, she still thought I'd be the one to fall apart first. But this time, I wasn't going to collapse. I wasn't going to cry on the floor like I did the night she didn't come home until 3. No, this time I would let her walk into her own mess, and when she realized what she lost, she'd be the one staring into silence, and it wouldn't answer her back. I didn't sleep the night I saw the calendar entry. I just sat there, eyes fixed on the screen, rereading the same line like it would somehow change. Use the black dress. The same dress she wore on our 3rd anniversary. The one she claimed made her feel like a movie star. I bought it. I zipped it up for her the first time. I told her she was the most beautiful woman in any room. I meant it. She probably let him unzip it now. The idea played on loop in my mind until I felt physically sick. But I didn't break. I didn't call her. I didn't show up at the Dorsey Inn to catch them in the act. I didn't cry or scream or slam anything. That version of me, the one who used to beg for scraps of her attention, was gone. And yet, my hands trembled as I opened my laptop the next morning. I had an idea. Not revenge. I'm not that guy. But I needed clarity. I needed truth. So I did what I'd been avoiding for months. I logged into our shared cloud drive. She always saved screenshots there. Recipes, photos, reminders, all neatly organized into folders labeled Dream Life and Future Goals. One folder, near the bottom, was simply titled M. My throat tightened. I clicked. It wasn't photos of us. It was him. Him at a rooftop bar. Him holding her hand at some lake house. Him in bed, shirtless, with her hair sprawled across his chest like a trophy. I didn't even know what hurt more, the betrayal or the fact that she documented it like it was a fairy tale. No shame, no guilt, just proof that I'd been erased and replaced. And yet, in that moment, I wasn't angry. I was weirdly calm. I realized something. She expected me to find this eventually. She wanted it to destroy me. She wanted me to chase her, to beg for answers, to remind her that she was still wanted even after betraying me. That was her game. But I wasn't playing it anymore. I closed the folder, made a backup of everything, and started planning something else. Not for her, but for me. Because if she could walk away from everything we built and smile while doing it, then I could finally stop waiting at the door like a lost dog. And this time, when she came crawling back, and I knew she would, it wouldn't be me who begged. 3 days later, I got a text I wasn't supposed to see. It was a screenshot forwarded by a mutual friend, someone who worked in real estate and had accidentally been looped into a group chat Marin meant for her inner circle. I never expected what I saw. There she was, my wife, standing in front of a new apartment, holding the keys, grinning like she'd just won the lottery. The caption read, "Fresh start. No more dragging dead weight. Dead weight." That's what I was to her now. Not a partner, not a man who built a life with her, who sacrificed for her dreams. Just a burden she'd shaken off like dust on her boots. The group chat loved it. Fire emojis, heart eyes. One of her friends even commented, "Finally free." I sat on the edge of the bed, reading it over and over. It wasn't just the words. It was the way she looked so alive, so relieved. Like escaping me was the best decision she'd ever made. I should have been crushed, and I was. But then something else took root. Not anger, not vengeance, just finality. There was nothing left to save. No apology would fix it. No memory could rewrite it. She had already rewritten our story without me, so I started making changes of my own, quietly. I closed our joint account and opened one in my name only. I called the landlord and took her name off the lease. I canceled the car insurance policy we shared. I didn't even tell her. Let her feel the weight she thought I was. Let her see what it's like when the foundation she took for granted disappears. And then, 2 nights later, she called me. Not a text, not a voice note, a full call. I didn't answer. She called again, and again. The 4th time, I let it ring. The 5th, I picked up. Her voice was shaky. Not furious, fragile. "Elwood, why did you freeze the account?" I paused, let the silence stretch, then said, "I figured you didn't need my dead weight slowing you down." She didn't speak for 5 full seconds. Then she whispered, "I didn't mean it like that." But that's the thing about messages. You don't get to control how they're received when you send them behind someone's back. And in that moment, I realized something that made me colder than I thought I could ever be. I didn't care what she meant. I cared what she did. She showed up the next day. I heard the knock before I saw her face, and I already knew it wasn't going to be calm. Marin never handled silence well. It made her nervous, exposed. I opened the door, and there she was, standing on the porch in that same black dress from the calendar note. But it didn't dazzle now. It looked desperate, wrinkled at the hem, like it had been pulled from the back seat of her car in a panic. "We need to talk," she said, without even pretending to smile. I let her in. She walked like she still belonged here, like the scent of her old shampoo hadn't already faded from the pillows. She looked around, noticing the subtle changes, the missing picture frames, the empty side of the closet, the clean kitchen counter where her half-drunk lattes used to sit for days. "You changed everything?" she whispered. I nodded. "You left." "Yes, I just rearranged the aftermath." She looked at me, really looked, and for the first time I saw it. Uncertainty. Not regret, not yet, but fear. The kind that creeps in when you realize the backup plan isn't waiting at the door like you assumed it would be. "I made a mistake," she said finally, voice trembling just enough to sound real. "It wasn't what you think." But I'd already stopped giving her chances to define my reality. "You thought I'd wait," I said, "while you decided if I was still worth the trouble." Her silence was admission. She sat down, like this was a negotiation, like I'd forgotten the pictures, the messages, the group chat calling me dead weight. "Elwood, I don't want this to end." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. She wanted the comfort back, not the man. She wanted the version of me who would apologize for her betrayal just to keep her near. "It already ended," I said. "You just showed up late to the funeral." She flinched like I'd slapped her. Good, because no amount of mascara or pleading or backtracking would fix what she shattered for fun. She rose to leave, slower this time. And when she reached the door, she turned around like it was the final act in a play she never rehearsed for. "I didn't think you'd actually move on," she whispered. I looked her dead in the eye and replied, "That's the last thing you didn't think I'd do." And with that, I closed the door. Not loudly, not angrily, just permanently. After she left that day, I thought I'd feel victorious. I thought slamming the door on her fake apology would bring closure, maybe even satisfaction. But instead, I felt strangely peaceful, like the version of me that had waited, begged, analyzed her tone, searched her face for signs of love. That man had finally died, and I was mourning him less and less by the hour. 2 days passed with no contact. The silence this time didn't sting. It felt earned. Then, on the 3rd day, I ran into her by accident at the grocery store of all places. She was in the frozen aisle, holding a pint of vanilla oat milk ice cream, the same kind we used to split on the couch during bad movies. When she saw me, her posture stiffened. She tried to act surprised, like she hadn't intentionally dressed in the same jacket I once told her made her look unreachable in a good way. But it didn't work. Her smile was thin, fragile. "Hey," she said, like we were casual exes bumping into each other in a romantic comedy. "Hey," I replied, genuinely calm. I wasn't faking it anymore. Her eyes searched mine, probably expecting sadness, confusion, that familiar wounded glaze I used to wear like a badge. Instead, I smiled. Nothing dramatic, just a relaxed, tired, honest smile. That's when her expression cracked. Just slightly. "You look different," she said, like it bothered her. "I feel different," I replied. Freedom does that. Her grip on the ice cream tightened. She nodded too quickly. "I was actually going to text you," she blurted out. "We should talk." I tilted my head. "We already did. You just didn't like the ending." The silence between us was brief but suffocating. Finally, she said, "So that's it?" And I nodded. "Yeah, that's it. I don't need a sequel." As I walked away, I saw her reflection in the freezer door glass, shoulders sagged, mouth slightly open, eyes not knowing whether to cry or chase me. But she didn't move, because this time, I wasn't an open door. I wasn't a backup plan. I was gone, and for once she was the one frozen in place. And somehow, that quiet moment in a fluorescent aisle said everything I never had the strength to say when she still lived in my house. Weeks passed, the kind of weeks that usually blur together, but these didn't. These were sharp, focused, honest. I started doing things I hadn't done in years. I cooked actual meals instead of microwaving sadness. I walked every morning with no destination, just air in my lungs and the weight of her gone from my shoulders. I even signed up for a woodworking class at the community center. I'd always wanted to, but back then, Marin called it pointless and messy. Funny how healing begins when the noise leaves your life. One night I was sitting on the porch, watching the sky fade into that soft gray blue before the stars show up. I didn't feel bitter anymore. I didn't feel like the victim of some grand betrayal. I felt like someone who had survived himself. And then, like clockwork, my phone buzzed. Her name lit up the screen again, not calling this time, just a message. "I miss us. I'm sorry. Can we at least talk?" But I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, not because I wanted her to suffer, but because the man she left, the one who waited, doubted, and begged, was gone. And I liked the man who replaced him more. I stood up, walked inside, and deleted the thread without reading anything else. No dramatic goodbye, no closure session, just a clean slate. That night, I slept better than I had in years. Not because I found someone new, not because karma came for her, but because I found peace in myself, real, quiet peace, the kind she never taught me how to have, and that somehow felt better than any revenge ever could. If you've ever had a moment where your peace spoke louder than your pain, share it in the comments. We want to hear the turning point that changed your story. Thanks for staying with us through this journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow Reddit Confessions, where your stories matter and healing begins with honesty.